Incredible dinner revelation. How one waitress daughter transformed 12 hearts with hidden Japan. Mia wiped the last of the breakfast rush off the counter as she glanced up at the diner's vintage clock. The hands ticked steadily toward a new chapter for Maplewood. Excitement hung thick in the air, with whispers of the annual charity dinner echoing off the worn linoleum floors. This year's theme? A taste of Japan, and for Mia, it was more than just a gimmick. It was a bridge to the home she had left behind, a way to share what she adored with her daughter, Sakura. But under the flickering neon lights and endless coffee refills, emotions brewed. Mia could see Sakura standing off to the side, fingers tugging at her sleeves, lost in a world of muted hopes and teenage rebellion. For Sakura, it was a tightrope walk between embracing her Japanese heritage and fitting into a town that often felt reluctant to welcome her. The thought weighed heavy on Mia's heart. Every day, she sacrificed her dreams to give Sakura a better life. As Mia began to prepare for their big night, she envisioned steaming bowls of ramen, crispy tempura, and delicate sushi rolls that told stories of generations. But with every chop of the knife, she noticed Sakura retreating further into herself. The diner brimmed with talk about the upcoming charity event, but darker whispers crept in, reminding Mia of the prejudice she had faced. What do they know of Japan? They say, and shudders ran through her nostalgic memories. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the dinner approached, tension simmered. Old biases, long submerged, began surfacing among the patrons. Mia's heart raced the night of the event. The diner was adorned with paper lanterns, and the air was fragrant with spices, yet a storm brewed in Sakura's eyes. Mia wished she could shield her, but this was Sakura's moment. Seated at communal tables were 12 guests, each bearing their own scars. A former quarterback, regret shadowing his features, an elderly woman whose family had crossed oceans, her eyes pools of shared pain. Situations intertwined with emotion, a whispered apology here, a gentle nod there. Slowly, hearts began to crack open. Sakura's laughter bubbled over, mixing with tales of family recipes and the warmth of acceptance. Hope flickered, but Mia remained cautious, her heart clenching, terrified they might still let prejudice slip through the cracks. As the dinner unfolded, a heartfelt surprise erupted when someone from the crowd recalled his own childhood bullying of a boy from a different background. "We connect over food, right?" he said, voice shaky. Laughter mingled with emotion. Hope started rising. As plates emptied, barriers softened. Could this really be happening? The chill in the air warmed with every shared smile. With the weight of unasked questions hanging in the room, the evening teetered. Could they all leave with a slice of understanding, or would old wounds pull them back into tears? In that moment, Mia knew they stood on the edge of something far greater than a charity dinner, something transformative. Where would it lead? Would they find unity and healing, or would they stumble and fall back into division once more? The possibilities sparkled, electric and alive. Mia stood at the edge of the dining area, her heart racing. The energy in the room was palpable, a mixture of anxiety and hope. As the last plate of sushi found its way to the table, the noise began to fade, caught in the riptide of expectation. Eyes turned toward the front, where the local mayor took his place behind the makeshift podium. Mia's grip tightened around the edge of her apron, her knuckles widening. The mayor cleared his throat, and for a moment, time felt suspended. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady yet inviting. "Welcome to a taste of Japan. Tonight, we not only savor incredible food but celebrate our shared stories." Mia exchanged a glance with Sakura, who nodded slightly, a flicker of determination sparking within her. As the mayor spoke, he reflected on the sacrifices of those who came before, the immigrants who shaped Maplewood into a patchwork of cultures. The room filled with soft murmurs of agreement, and Mia felt a glimmer of hope. Could this be the moment when minds and hearts finally met? Then came the first course, a beautifully plated maw of miso soup. An elderly woman leaned over to Sakura, her voice soft but clear. "This reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen. We had soup just like this." The connection was immediate, it left a ripple of warmth among the table. As laughter began to bubble up, Mia watched the once stormy gaze of her daughter soften. Sakura engaged in conversation, sharing her own stories of childhood meals. The clashing flavors of Japan wrapped around them like an embracing hug. Each laugh peeled off layers of doubt. It wasn't long before a darker memory surfaced, caught in the delicious aroma of the evening. A middle-aged man spoke up, his voice shaky as he shared how, as a kid, he had hurled slurs at a classmate, a boy who had stood apart because of his family background. "I didn't know it was wrong. I was just a kid." Silence fell. As eyes fell on him, Mia's heart ached for the boy he had bullied. Would he ever know the turmoil such words can bring? But then, the current shifted. "It's never too late to change," another diner said, voice full of compassion. "Look around you. We're all here together. It's about moving forward." Mia's heart swelled. The air crackled with realization that evening. Barriers shattered, leaving echoes of a past that, while heavy, paved the way for a brighter, more compassionate future. Sakura raised her glass, her voice bright against the silence. "To new beginnings." In that moment, it felt as if time had stitched their stories together, maybe even rewritten some of their histories. As the night grew later, dessert arrived, a traditional matcha cheesecake that melted upon tasting, leaving smiles and satisfied sighs in its wake. Conversations flowed freely now, laughter echoed wildly, and something beautiful unfolded before Mia's eyes. Yet in the midst of the joy, a nagging thought lingered. As comforting as the moment was, would it last? Around the diner, faces lit up, but Mia couldn't shake the feeling that shadows remained, lurking just beyond the light. As guests began to rise, they stepped away from the tables, lingering near the door. Mia sensed a mixture of closure and incompletion. Would they all carry this moment with them, or fall back into their routines tomorrow? The evening had unlocked something profound, but Mia remained uncertain, a fragile thread connecting her hopes for Sakura and that change she craved. And just then, Sakura turned to her, tears sparkling like stars under the diner lights. "Mom, do you think we made a difference?" Mia looked around at the faces, some full of joy, others weighed down by the past. It was a question that needed answering, and for that instant, she wondered if they could rise above it all. Standing there, hearts beating in unison, they faced a choice. Would this unity continue? Or would it fracture again with the dawn? Mia took a deep breath. The answer would change everything. Mia stood frozen for a moment, the question hanging between them like a delicate thread. Did we make a difference? It echoed in her mind, stirring a whirlpool of thoughts. The other diners chatted in clusters, their voices rising and falling like waves in the ocean. Each group was a snapshot of laughter, sharing snippets of life, but somewhere beneath that joyful facade, a current of uncertainty flowed. Mia felt it too, tugging at her heart. She turned to Sakura, who bit her lip, eyes searching her mother's face for reassurance. Mia's mind raced. Had this evening been just a beautiful moment in time, or was it a step toward something greater? "I think," she started hesitantly, "it's a start." Sakura nodded, though doubt still clouded her features. But what if tomorrow, everyone just forgets? The vulnerability in her voice pierced Mia. "But we won't forget," Mia replied firmly. "And we'll remind them." At that, a spark ignited in her daughter's gaze. Together they could be that reminder, a gentle nudge back to the connections made tonight. As they stepped outside the diner, the cool evening air wrapped around them. The smell of warm sushi and the sweet lingering notes of matcha cheesecake clung to their clothes. Mia took a deep breath, trying to absorb it all, the connection, the warmth, the hope. Across the street, a group of teenagers laughed, their playful banter slicing through the quiet of the night. One of them pointed in their direction. "Look! That's where the dinner was." They hurriedly crossed the street, curiosity lighting their eyes. Mia's heart quickened. The ripple was expanding. "Let us tell them," she whispered to Sakura, excitement bubbling inside. They approached the teens, who slowed down, intrigued. What was going on in there? One girl asked. "A celebration of cultures," Sakura blurted out, her confidence shining. "It was amazing. You should have tasted the cheesecake." Mia watched the glimmer in her daughter's eyes, the way she captured their interest. It was contagious. The teenagers leaned in, eager for more. Sakura continued, recounting how stories shared bridged gaps once thought impassable. Mia felt her heart swell with pride. It was happening. Inspiration was taking root. As their voices grew louder, Mia caught sight of Mr. Thompson, the middle-aged man who had shared his regret earlier. He shuffled out of the diner, wiping his eyes discreetly. Mia's heart sank. Had he found the courage to confront his past only to now be swallowed by it? "Mr. Thompson." She called after him, urgency in her voice. He stopped and slowly turned. "Thank you for sharing tonight. It meant so much, didn't it, Sakura?" Sakura agreed, stepping forward. "It took a lot of strength to open up. But we all want to move forward together." His eyes filled with gratitude as he nodded. "I just hope I can make things right." Mia felt a wave of empathy wash over her. "You're already on that path. This moment is just the beginning." Across the street, the teenagers still listened, wide-eyed, absorbing every word. They were witnessing a change, a transformation, and Mia prayed it would take hold. As the night deepened, the moon rose high, casting a soft glow over Maplewood. The threads of shared stories and hopes intertwined, and Mia felt a sense of strength growing in the air. They weren't alone. They could keep reminding one another, but just as she began to feel a sigh of relief escape her lips, a voice shouted from the corner of the parking lot. "Hey! Is anyone still in there?" Mia turned abruptly. It was a friend, a familiar face from her childhood. "I heard about the dinner. What happened?" "I missed it." Sudden excitement spread through her like wildfire. They could spread this moment even further. "Come. You won't believe what just unfolded." With each step back into the diner, Mia knew they were at the crest of something profound. Would they find new allies in their quest for change? Would this night continue to resonate? They stepped inside, ready to share the stories that would ignite yet another round of inspiration and connection. Mia felt the thrill of the unknown, her heart filling with hope anew. Each voice mattered, every story capable of creating a ripple, but what else lay hidden beneath the surface of this night? Would they unravel even deeper connections, or face obstacles that tested their newfound unity? The diner buzzed with energy as Mia stepped back inside, her pulse quickening. She could feel the warmth radiating from the walls, the essence of shared moments still wafting in the air. Her childhood friend, Jess, slid in behind her, wide-eyed and hopeful. "What's the deal?" Jess asked, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Did you guys really change lives in just one night?" Sakura stood proudly, her small stature appearing mighty as she took center stage. "We did." Everyone shared their stories. It was like magic. The other diners who had initially been scattered began to gather again, drawn to the enthusiasm radiating from Mia and Sakura. "What kind of stories?" Jess leaned in, eager to capture every word. Sakura exchanged a glance with her mother, and they both knew this wasn't just random chatter. It was pivotal. About culture, family, regret. She started, lacing her fingers together. "And how we can be better." As conversations ignited, Mia felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. The impact was undeniable. The diner was transforming into a mosaic of laughter, understanding, and renewed hope. Just as Mia began to relax, the memories from her past crashed down like an ocean wave. Was she strong enough to lead this charge? Would she falter under the weight of expectations? Suddenly, a clear voice broke her reverie. Mr. Thompson had returned, more resolute this time. "I want to share my story to everyone here," he declared, his tone stronger than before. "It's time I stop hiding." Mia's heart swelled with pride. The flickering flame of courage that had been ignited was spreading. As Mr. Thompson took a deep breath, the entire diner turned their attention to him. "When I was younger," he started, his voice quaking slightly, yet full of purpose. "I turned my back on friends who were different from me. I let ignorance win. But tonight I found my way back, and I can't take that for granted anymore." Tears welled in Mia's eyes as she absorbed his words. This was transformation, this was what they had hoped for when they asked others to share their truths. It was a miracle born out of vulnerability. As he spoke, people nodded, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to understanding. Each passing moment stitched them closer together like a family. "That's the spirit," someone in the back shouted. The cheers echoed through, and a wave of unity washed over the room. Mia felt pulse racing, excitement spiraling through her as more diners rose to share their own reflections. She could see the connections forming, the glaze of difference fading away. Laughter blossomed again, reminding them all why they were gathered in the first place, but then, a commotion erupted outside. A familiar voice rang through the diner. "You didn't think you'd leave me out, did you?" Mia turned to see a group of old friends from the neighborhood, waving with grins plastered across their faces. "We heard there's a gathering of epic proportions in here." Laughter erupted as her heart swelled once more. This was the moment they had all wanted, a convergence of lives, a tapestry of stories. It felt like they were on the brink of something larger than themselves, yet just as joy enveloped the room, a shadow fell over the moment. Mia noticed something in Mr. Thompson's eyes, a flicker of doubt, an unspoken hesitation lurking just beneath his brave exterior. "What will happen if we can't sustain this?" he whispered to her as the crowd still buzzed around them. Her smile faltered, replaced with honesty. "We will build on it. Together." But that question echoed loudly in her mind. Would they be able to hold on to this feeling? The question loomed heavy, the answer uncertain, but in the build-up of energy around them, there was potential, there was hope. As more friends entered the diner, Mia felt a connection solidifying with every voice raised in affirmation, a promise of continued growth. Yet, tinged with curiosity, she couldn't shake the feeling that they still had work to do. What would their next move be? Would they find the courage to transform a single night into a movement? Or would the effort fizzle out like a candle wick fading in the dark? The entrance filled with laughter as Mia's childhood friends burst into the diner, a whirlwind of excitement. Familiar faces lit up the space with shared memories, and just like that, the atmosphere thickened with joy. Each friend that joined added another layer to the tapestry. They were weaving a mix of past experiences and hopeful futures. "Look who it is!" Jess called over the chatter, making her way through the crowd. Mia watched as old friends embraced. For a moment, time held still, and the sincerity of the evening washed over everyone like a strong wave of warmth. Among the newcomers stood Lucas, a tall, lanky guy with a kind smile that used to brighten their school hallways. He looked just as she remembered, but his eyes carried a depth that intrigued her. "I heard there was a party, but I didn't realize it would be this incredible." He laughed, taking a seat at the counter beside Mia. As he settled in, Mr. Thompson continued his story. The room leaned in closer, drawn by his sincerity. "Change is hard, but it's what we need if we want to grow. I'm starting to understand that now," he said, conviction coloring his tone. Mia felt electric. She was no longer just a spectator in their collective transformation, she was a vital piece. People were rallying around ideas, building bridges instead of barriers. Together, she repeated softly, soaking in every face filled with awe, admiration, or even deep contemplation. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open. Chef Sam emerged, wielding the last of the night's special creations, fluffy pancakes adorned with fresh berries and syrup glistening like liquid gold. "For the brave souls who are sharing their hearts tonight," he declared playfully. Laughter erupted, and the pancakes found their way to every table, accompanying each heartfelt story like a sweet salute to vulnerability. Mia could see the smiles return as food turned into a kind of shared ritual, a celebration of togetherness. As lightness filled the diner, she noticed an older couple in the corner, their hands intertwined, their eyes glistening with pride. They'd been coming to this diner longer than she could remember, and tonight they seemed to shine brighter than ever. "What's your story?" Mia asked, gingerly approaching their table. The woman smiled softly, her eyes twinkling. "We've been married 50 years, she said. We've learned that love doesn't just happen, it's built day by day." The man nodded in agreement. "Sometimes you show love with words, other times, it's the little things, like making breakfast together or being there when it matters." Mia felt her heart swell even more. Their wisdom resonated. Love, in all its forms, was here, enveloping them like a blanket on a chilly night. She turned her attention back to the gathering, sensing the overwhelming desire for change, for understanding. Just then, the laughter faded slightly. Someone in the crowd began to speak more somberly. "But how do we actually change things?" a young voice questioned, breaking through the momentary bliss. Eyes turned toward him, filled with expectancy. Mia's heart raced as realization dawned. They were at a crossroads. Would they turn this wave of encouragement into actionable steps? Would they dig deeper, beyond stories and platitudes? There was no turning back now. They had tapped into something profound. Her voice caught in her throat. She feasted on the collective hope that lingered. "We find ways to keep this going. Meetings, projects, whatever it takes to keep sharing, to build a strong community." The murmurs grew, a ripple of agreement coursing through the gathering. But as excitement swelled, a nagging fear tugged at Mia's heart. Could they sustain this momentum? When someone shouted, "Let's plan a community event," it ignited a fire. The diners jumped at the idea, voices intertwining like music, each idea more dynamic than the last. But just as plans began to form, Mr. Thompson's earlier doubt clawed its way back. Would they truly find consistency in their efforts? Mia inhaled slowly, embracing the thrill of the night. They had a chance. Could they really take that leap together? In the midst of the growing excitement, a sudden thud echoed from the kitchen. All eyes turned curiously toward the source of the sound. Mia sensed that something vital was about to happen, something that could either deepen their connections or challenge them in unexpected ways. What awaited them in the moments to come? Would this gathering withstand the test, or would unforeseen circumstances threaten their fragile bond? Mia squinted toward the kitchen as the noise echoed again, a sharp interrogation of the merry mood. All eyes were now fixed on the swinging doors, each breath hanging in anticipation. The chatter dwindled into a murmur, and expressions shifted from jovial excitement to wary curiosity. Chef Sam appeared, his usually jovial face clouded with uncertainty. Folks, his voice didn't carry the usual warmth tonight. We've got a bit of an emergency in the kitchen." The room fell silent. Mia's stomach twisted, all elation coiling into a tight ball. "What happened?" she asked, unable to hide the tremor in her voice. "It's just," Chef Sam hesitated, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone or something to come crashing through. "Tonight's special came out wrong, but also well, it's more than that. The delivery truck with our fresh ingredients got a flat, and yeah, it's not looking good." Mia's heart sank. The air of possibility that had swelled with community spirit seemed to tumble like fallen leaves. How could they hold an event if they couldn't even serve dinner correctly? Panic flickered in some eyes, while others wore expressions of confusion. A young woman, Jenna, broke the silence. "But we've been planning this. What do we do?" Her voice trembled, both hopeful and fearful. Maybe we could still help? Lucas suggested, leaning toward Mia. We can gather what we have and figure out something simple. Potluck style? Everyone can bring a dish to share. Mia could feel the flickering embers of hope lighting within the group again. The idea brewed enthusiasm, and soon rumbles of agreement began swirling like wind chimes in the soft evening air. Without missing a beat, Jess stood up and rallied, "I'll run out to grab whatever I can find at the market nearby. Who wants to join?" Hands shot up. Mia watched in wonder as a plan quickly took shape. Rather than allowing disappointment to snuff out their energy, they might just rise together. The older couple from the corner table joined in, sharing stories of their past potlucks. "We used to do this all the time. Oh, the great dishes we discovered," the woman chuckled, her eyes lighting up with nostalgia. Mia absorbed their laughter, the fluidity of shared memories. The positive energy overwhelmed her. In that moment, she realized the beauty in their willingness to adapt. Change didn't mean facing adversities alone, it meant leaning on each other, pulling together. As plans solidified, Mia grabbed Lucas's arm, and they stood at the center, igniting the fiery spirit that had started this gathering. "Let us spread the word. This isn't just about meals, it's about heart," she declared, passion spilling from her usually reserved self. The diner's doors swung open, laughter spilling outside like joyous ink on paper. The dim lights above them twinkled, echoing the lightheartedness the occasion had birthed, but as the voices surged with new life, a shadow swept through the diner. Mia felt an unmistakable chill as that nagging fear returned like a whisper. This wasn't just a meal to rush through. It was something bigger. Tremors of uncertainty crept into her heart. What if this moment unraveled? What if their community kanban faltered before they could even grasp its beginnings? As people gathered around to prepare for the unexpected potluck, a small voice in the back called out, "But what if we don't really connect?" It cut through the excitement like a knife. It was a question that craved an answer, one that hung in the air with unsettling weight. Would this terrifying moment lead them to solid ground, or would it reveal cracks in their growing bond? In that charged atmosphere, Mia looked around the diner, her heart racing. No one knew how the night would turn out, but one thing was certain: this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge their hearts in ways they could never have anticipated. Mia turned toward the sudden voice that had silenced the laughter. The anxiety that had flickered in her chest transformed into something heavier, a question she too had danced around since Chef Sam spoke. Could they really connect? Would this hastily woven potluck tapestry become something beautiful, or would all their efforts fray at the seams? As the diner's atmosphere shifted, she noticed Lucas, his brow furrowed, muttering to himself. "It's not about just sharing food, it's about sharing stories too." He turned to Mia, his eyes wide with realization. "What if we take turns sharing a memory or a tale that goes with our dish? That could bring us closer." "That's brilliant!" Mia exclaimed, a ripple of excitement coursing through her. Everyone has a story, and food has a way of making those stories come alive. Encouraged by Mia's response, Lucas rallied their fellow diners. "All right, everyone. Let us make it a potluck of memories. When you bring your dish, share a little of its story." Nods and smiles spread through the crowd. An older gentleman in a plaid shirt chimed in, "Back in my day, stories were as much a part of the meal as the food itself. I've got a great chili recipe, and oh boy does it have a history." The chatter began again, filled with snippets of laughter and anticipation. Recipes exchanged hands like treasure maps. Each person seemed energized, eyes glimmering with eagerness to contribute. As the first few people dashed out to gather their ingredients, Mia realized how her initial worry had started to dissipate. This was more than a simple idea, it was a catalyst reshaping their night. The notion that they could weave their individual experiences into a shared canvas of connection made her heart dance. Jenna, who had been anxious just moments ago, approached Mia with a determined look. "I'm making my grandma's famous lasagna," She taught me every step, and it bonded us. I'll share her story when I bring it. Mia couldn't help but smile back. That's what it's all about, Jenna. The excitement continued to build like rising dough, and Chef Sam and his team began helping too. They started pulling fridge staples for improvisational dishes, sharing stray veggies, canned goods, and spices with anyone willing to create something from what remained. It felt electric, the kind of tension that mingles anticipation and joy. As the first few dishes began appearing in the kitchen, everyone's curiosity began to simmer. What on earth is that green thing? Laughed a toddler as he pointed to a dish Mia couldn't identify. Is that a thing? That's our friend's green curry, one of the diner regulars laughed. And believe me, it's a thing, a delicious one at that. The laughter erupted once more, erasing any lingering doubts, but just as Mia started to soak in the warmth of the moment, the little voice that questioned their connection echoed again in her mind. What if the story's tangled in misunderstanding? A younger man at the edge of the group began to fidget. What if some of our stories are too personal? What if we end up feeling judged? Mia felt the tension again, a mounting hunch as every eye turned toward her. The air crackled, and she could feel all the hopes of the crowd resting on her response. She took a breath, steadying herself. Every story matters, even the tough ones. We can't judge each other for who we are or what we've faced. That's what community is about, compassion and understanding. Her heart raced as she spoke. She knew how desperately she wanted this night to mean something, to be real. Was she brave enough to share her own story when the time came? As everyone resumed their preparations, the buzz returned, but a glitch of uncertainty lingered. The thrill of the potluck danced in Mia's chest, mingling with the worry of potential awkwardness. It was a tightrope she didn't know how to navigate, but she felt something shift within her. She couldn't turn back now. Taking a step back, Mia noticed Lucas exchanging some glances with Jenna. Both were lost in thought, their smiles the only visible signs of the brewing depths. Underneath. Would friendships be forged here tonight? Or would unspoken boundaries keep them apart? The kitchen turned into a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. Plates piled high with ingredients, voices dancing through the air like the flickering flame of a candle. Mia's heart swelled. Something incredible was brewing beneath the surface. But as Chef Sam exchanged knowing looks with her, a single doubt still loomed large in the air. Would their stories bring them together, or would old wounds tear them apart? Gathering her courage, Mia glanced at the group, alive with energy and hope. The night was just beginning, and she had to wonder, were they ready to peel back the layers of connection and face the things that could ultimately bring them together or tear them asunder? Mia stood at the edge of the bustling kitchen, feeling the warmth radiate from the oven as it filled with the savory scents of simmering dishes. The vibrant laughter and excited chatter hung in the air, a cascading melody that made her heart beat in time. Yet, beneath this cheerful symphony lay a tension, a subtle reminder of uncertainties that could mar the colorful tapestry they were weaving. "Hey Mia!" Lucas called out, waving her over. He was bent over a bowl, carefully mixing ingredients with a focused expression. "Come help me with this sauce. It's kind of a mess right now." She chuckled, walking closer. "You mean it looks like a food fight all by itself? That's what happens when you don't read the recipe all the way through." He grinned sheepishly, flour dusting the bridge of his nose. As they mixed and stirred, other diners joined in. Jenna was diligently layering her grandma's lasagna in a baking dish, eager to share not just her food, but her memories that clung to each layer of cheese and pasta. Meanwhile, the older gentleman was regaling others with the tales of his chili recipe, recounting how it had fueled family gatherings through cold winters. Mia's heart soared with each story. No one seemed concerned anymore about vulnerability. They were embracing it. And then, the smaller group that had been lingering at the edge, those who had seemed hesitant, started to approach. "Hey, I'm making my mom's potato salad," a quiet voice spoke up. It was Sarah, a shy woman who always kept her distance. "I never really shared it with anyone, but it reminds me of her Sunday dinners. Please share that story. Mia urged, her voice warm and encouraging. I'd love to hear it. As Sarah flushed but smiled, Mia felt a wave of hope wash over her. It was happening. A bridge was slowly forming, each dish serving as a stepping stone toward connection. Just then, the atmosphere took a sharp turn. A sudden crash blared like a siren, causing everyone to freeze. The toddler who had pointed out the green curry had collided with a stack of plates, sending them clattering to the floor. Silence fell like a heavy curtain, and Mia's heart dipped. Would this chaotic moment break the fragile bonds they were weaving, or would it reinforce their tenacity? In an instant, Jenna was kneeling by the shards of ceramic, trying to pick them up. Hey! Accidents happen, she said, her tone light, but with concern. Lucas knelt beside her. Let's not let this ruin our party. Everyone all right? The tension broke as others stepped in to help. Nothing to worry about. We still have our stories, and no broken plates can change that. Someone called out, laughter rippling through the crowd once again. Mia couldn't help but smile. This was it, their collective resilience was showing. As the night unfolded, fresh dishes emerged, and more stories flowed. Mia shared a beloved recipe from her own childhood, the chicken pot pie her mother had prepared each winter. It felt liberating. Here they were, an eclectic family bound by shared meals and shared experiences. But then came the moment that snapped her from the warmth of the stories. The older gentleman cleared his throat gently. I think it might help if we all heard each other's deeper memories. There's more to each of us than food, after all. Mia felt her heart quicken. Would everyone actually be willing to dig deeper? Would they peel back layers of hurt and sadness along with their careful culinary creations? She was both scared and enthralled at the idea. As more hands continued to stir, slice, and serve, Mia took a deep breath. How about we go around the table and share not just the food, but a story of resilience? Something that shaped who we are? An electric buzz filled the room. Eyes widened with disbelief, then fell to the table in thought. Would they step into the realm of vulnerability? The sense of community she longed for was sitting right on the edge of a knife, waiting to be carved into reality. Everything was balanced precariously, and Mia could feel the weight of the moment pressing down. Would they embrace it together? And then, the unspoken question hung in the air: who would be the first to share? Mia's heart raced, the room filled with a palpable mix of excitement and trepidation. All eyes were on her, but she willed herself to remain calm, to anchor this delicate moment. She looked around the table, noting the small shimmers of vulnerability reflected in the faces surrounding her. All right, how about I start? Lucas said, breaking the thick tension. His voice was steady, and he gave Mia a reassuring smile. I never thought I'd be in a kitchen like this, sharing stories. But I guess I'm often hiding behind my cooking. His eyes sparkled as he spoke. Growing up, I was the kid always in the kitchen, cooking alongside my grandmother. She taught me that food was more than just a meal, it was a way to connect. We struggled after losing my parents when I was younger. The laughter faded into silence, everyone leaning in, hanging on his words. I remember one Thanksgiving, everything was a mess. She tried to make a fancy turkey but burned it. We ended up with a makeshift dinner of mac and cheese, and we laughed for hours. It was the most memorable holiday ever. It's a reminder that it's not about perfection, it's about the love shared. People nodded in understanding. Mia felt a rush of gratitude. Lucas's bravery ignited courage in others. Soon, more voices sprang to life. I'll go next, Jenna said, her hands twisting a strand of hair. Cooking is my escape. But it's also a reminder of loss. I went to cooking school after my brother passed away. He was my biggest support, and I never had the courage to pursue my dream until I lost him. Whenever I bake, I feel close to him. It makes me feel like he is cheering me on, no matter where he is. Tears glistened in her eyes, but a bright smile remained. The room shared a collective breath, a mix of sorrow and hope threading through the air. Sarah, who had been quiet, now spoke softly. This is hard for me. My mom and I would cook potato salad every Sunday. It was simple, but we talk about everything. When she got ill, I lost my passion. But today, I believed I could honor her by bringing it here. She would have loved to see all of you gathering over food. Her voice trembled, but she stood tall. This is a reminder that sharing food can heal old wounds. As Sarah concluded, the weight of emotion rolled through the room like a gentle wave, uniting them in shared grief and triumph. Mia felt the temperature in the room rise with solidarity. More stories flowed, weaving intricate connections between strangers who hadn't known each other's depths just moments before. Mia grinned, her heart swelling with pride. Each tale was like a thread knitting this group into something closer, something beautiful. She caught sight of the older gentleman's eyes brimming with tears, a smile breaking through. Each of you spoke of resilience, of remembering those we have lost or paths we've taken, he said, voice steady and warm. It takes strength to be vulnerable, to share like this. But remember, our kitchens may be different, our stories may be unique, but we all share one universal truth: love binds us together, through food and tales. The conversation continued, but Mia's mind wandered back to her own vulnerabilities. She yearned to share, but fear gripped her heart. What if her story wasn't enough? Just as she struggled with the decision, a small hand tugged at her apron. Mia? The toddler asked, eyes wide and innocent. Can you tell your story too? Please. Mia took a deep breath. The room went quiet as they turned to her, each gaze filled with encouragement. Doubt faded for a moment, replaced by a flicker of bravery. Okay, she whispered, her voice steadying. Here goes. She was about to initiate a new journey of understanding, uncovering layers within herself and within the community they had created. Would Mia's vulnerability spark another wave of connection, or would the child's innocence unearth fears she wasn't ready to face? Only time would tell. Mia took a deep breath, the familiar scent of simmering dishes swirling around her like an embrace. She stood in front of the gathered diners, each one eagerly awaiting the next story, their compassion palpable. The weight of her story pressed against her chest, but the encouragement in their eyes pushed her forward. A few years ago, I came to Maplewood, freshly pulling the threads of my life back together. I was a single mother trying to raise Sakura in a new place, away from what I once called home. I left behind everything I knew: my friends, my culture, my dreams. I hoped that by bringing us here, I could give her a better chance, she began, her voice steady. The faces of the diners softened, the buzzing excitement quieting to a hush. But it was hard. It felt like my heritage was always fading away, until the diner became our canvas, our heartbeat. Mia glanced at Sakura, whose eyes sparkled with pride. It was here, behind this counter, that I learned to embrace the tension between my past and present. And watching Sakura create her bridge of identity helped me heal. I realized that food isn't just nourishment, it's a way to be remembered, a way to share love. Tears welled in her eyes, but Mia pressed on, finding strength in vulnerability. I want to ensure that Sakura grows up proud of where she came from. I want to create a space where she can belong. A silence fell heavy in the room before an elderly voice broke through. You're building that space, dear. Your honesty is building bridges for all of us. A wave of applause echoed through the diner, lifting the weight off Mia's shoulders. It wrapped around them all, warm like a family reunion. That's the beauty of this, Lucas chimed in, his enthusiasm bursting through. When we share our vulnerabilities, we create a community built on understanding, not judgment. Yes. Jenna added, her face blooming with excitement. It's a reminder that we're all in this together, like a recipe that needs every ingredient to taste complete. They laughed together, and with that laughter came warmth, a radiant energy that spread through the room. Each connection solidified like a sweet bond, a promise to reach deeper, to love harder. As dishes were passed around, more stories emerged. Mr. Thompson stood up next, voice trembling but resolute. I learned long ago that true strength comes in vulnerability. I spent years hiding from my mistakes. But tonight, you've all inspired me to confront my past. Thank you for the courage you've shared. The audience absorbed his words, nodding in solidarity. One by one, laughter and tears fused into a tapestry of shared humanity. The evening unfolded in waves, stories emerging like flavors coalescing in a pot. They shared not just their foods, but slices of their histories, overcoming what once stood between them. Mia glanced outside, watching the stars. The clear night sky, twinkling like the hope floating in their hearts. This was bigger than food. It was a movement, a promise that they'd not only remember what brought them together but that they would lean on one another. As dessert made its rounds, a glorious blend of flavors and colors, a young woman clapped her hands together. Let us do this again. Let us make it a monthly gathering. To share food and stories. Cheers erupted, excitement electrifying the air. They were not just sharing dishes but forging commitments to nurture the connection they had unlocked. And as they planned their future gatherings, Mia knew that the night held far-reaching consequences. They had crossed a threshold of understanding, and the path ahead seemed brimmed with possibilities they'd never even dreamed of. Last week, soon, the diner began to empty, each diner stepping into the night with fuller hearts. Mia exchanged warm goodbyes with everyone, lingering on Mr. Thompson's grateful smile, Sarah's radiant eyes, and Lucas's contagious laughter. As they walked away, she felt a weight lift off her chest, a sense of belonging that had eluded her for so long washed over her. Sakura stood beside her, luminous with a newfound light. Mom, we did change things. Didn't we? She looked up, eyes full of wonder. Yes, we did. Together, Mia replied, arms wrapping around her daughter. As they made their way home, hearts ablaze with gratitude, the world felt lighter, and the sense of community was no longer a fleeting moment but a newborn promise, ready to thrive. Together, they would walk this road, hand in hand, creating ripples that would last far beyond a taste of Japan. Onward into the night, they carried their stories like lanterns, guiding the way to an even brighter tomorrow, and as they stepped into Maplewood's embrace, Mia felt hope resonate, a vibrant fire ignited where once there were shadows. They would gather again, again, and again. This would not just be a memory, it would be their beautiful journey together. Before you go, don't forget this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, because your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Thank you for being part of this journey.